Good evening. This is the Town of Auburn Fire Station Building Committee meeting for June 2nd, 2025. It's 6 p.m. and the start of our meeting here. The first item up on our agenda is the review and approval of our meeting minutes from 3/26. It was our short meeting at the library when we had a presentation there and stuff. So if there's any comments, questions on those meeting minutes, I know they were all distributed, probably long forgotten. If not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Yeah, okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, those are approved. Moving on to item number 3, which is contract amendment approvals.
So you want me to just talk a little bit?
Sure.
About that? So what we've done, first of all, I want to congratulate the town on this successful vote. I mean, between the work the fire department did and the committee, I mean, it showed, and it was outstanding to see the support from the town, and I want to congratulate you guys on that. I've asked Tecton and us to make sure that we provide you the updated amendments that we'd need for our contract to continue as the design's going to come through. You submitted yours already?
I'm hoping to get it out into this week.
Okay, so by Friday, you'll
Yep.
have both ours. It's staying within the budget limits that we had set forth. We've identified wetlands will be under them as additional services, and we're soliciting all of the others, the Geotech, LSP, and a few of the others that we're going to solicit costs that'll go directly to the town. It's just a control mechanism more than anything. So once those proposals are in, I think as long as we get them to you, and I mean, we're going to keep moving no matter what right now anyway, so it can be discussed. And would it go through the town administrator for the approval, or does it go through the committee for recommendation first?
It would go from the committee to the manager.
Okay. So we could schedule a meeting coming up to just approve them as we move.
Yep, okay.
Next, do you want me to keep going?
Sure.
All right. Checked on with the design next steps.
Sure.
So before we get started, Matt and I talked about prior to the town meeting, just to make sure that we did a preliminary, look ahead for the next, 3 months, and then we talked about what we're trying to accomplish over the next 10. It's up to you.
Thank you. And to echo Joe, just like to congratulate the town of Auburn. I mean, this is a momentous vote. Congratulations to the chief and the fire department. We're really looking forward to getting going on this project. And after 7 years of waiting for this moment, we can finally get to work. So I have my project team we're actually kicking the project off internally tomorrow ahead of the approved amendment. So we're getting right to work on it. The first thing that we're working on is actually going back through the plan. Glenn had a couple of comments this afternoon, so we're going to pick those up, and we're looking to squeeze the thing up and get it as tight as we can, because there was a little bit of fluff when we go through these conceptual designs, and as we start to bring in the real project logistics into it, we can tighten the whole thing up. And we're looking at probably trying to shave at least 400 to 800 square feet more out of the building without affecting program. So as we develop schematic design, which is the next phase, we'll continue to tighten things up. But in terms of project development, you've seen this schedule before, and right now we're entering that design phase, and the first third of that is schematic design, and that's where we're really refining the plan, refining the architecture, developing the project specific details and things like that. They're gonna form the production effort in design development and contract documents when we put this thing out to the street to bid. There's a few things we're going to work with in the first 2 phases in particular that I'll go through as a more detailed approach to understanding spaces, needs, and things like that. So 6 or 7 years ago, we went through a programming exercise where we identified all your space needs. And that for initial space needs assessment was very high level and said, this is the size of the space. These are the basic components that go into it. We're going to be drilling down with the department, with other stakeholders within the community at a very detailed level to make sure that where every outlet is going, every data jack, the way the HVAC system is going to work, and that's a whole series of meetings. And so, basically, the project schedule going forward, schematic design, we're anticipating running from yesterday through the middle of August, the end of July. So July 28th, we're targeting to send the schematic design package to the estimator so that we get our estimate back for the end of schematic design. Joe and I will work to update the total project budget based on that estimate. We'll work with the committee and the fire department should we need any value engineering at that time. The week later, we'll start design development, which is where we start working out wall sections and some of the more intricate details within the building. That'll run from August 24th to the second week of November. Concurrently with the end of that, we'll also be running a design development estimate again. So that'll be 3 weeks prior to that. We'll go through the same value engineering exercise if needed. And then that'll bring us into the construction document phase where we put the biddable package together that we're going to send out to contractors. And that'll run from the middle of November to the first week of February. We have a little bit more time in there for the estimate. So we're running a full month for that estimate. It's a little bit more detailed. We also have an independent peer review that we run in-house that'll occur concurrently with that. That's run by a separate principal within the firm. And then ultimately getting this on the street first or second week of February, and then there's a 4 to 6 week period of bidding for the general contractors.
Can I just jump in between all of those activities that he's describing, those are milestone,
Yep.
dates that we're hitting. There's going to be a lot of detailed information and I call them page turns more than anything. As these plans evolve, they're going to want to meet with the department, do a turn page, make sure it all makes sense with them, and then on a monthly basis, we'll provide you with those updates once they correlated and basically coordinated all of their approvals as they move forward. On that regular basis, on those dates, I will look for the committee to review and then give the approval to continue design. I'm not going to slow them up for that, but I just want to make sure that we don't work backwards after the fact. I want to make sure that, everybody's on the same page with the direction that we're going.
Perfect segue.
Just for one of the non-construction guys in the room,
Yep.
just stuff like, what's the difference between schematic design and then design? It's like,
So the
to go slow and then some of the acronyms slow down, maybe.
Sure.
Tell us how to move through this process.
Yeah, so the AIA, American Institute of Architects, basically outlines a series of phases of development for a project when you're putting a project together to bid to contractors. And there's 4 major components, or I should say 5 major phases of that. The first one is conceptual design, which is what we've undergone with all of you. And that's really understanding what the project is going to become. After that, we go into schematic design, which represents like the first 15% or so of the development of the drawings. So a little bit more detail in the plans, a little bit more detail in the elevations. We're starting to look at some building sections and relationships and the materials that go into it. Design development is the phase after that, where we start developing wall sections, some of the more intricate details, sort of, a column detail here, a wall section here, a roof detail over here, but not the whole package. That way our estimators can get a really good understanding of the nuts and bolts of it. So we're slowly building accuracy into that. And then construction documents is the last phase where we're actually taking all that information and putting together a biddable set of contract documents to general contractors, which brings us to bidding and then ultimately construction.
A base set of drawings typically will be over 100 pages of drawings. At each of these phases, those are evolving as they move forward with details.
So just want to go over just a few meetings that we're going to be setting up with the fire department and with the town. And there's a series of these that we have at each phase, and they help us in our development of the documents and help make sure that we're not creating a circular process that is more streamlined and running efficiently. We have a tight schedule, so we really need to maintain momentum throughout the whole thing in order to meet our bid deadline. So in that first phase, schematic design, these are a few meetings that we're going to have. We're going to do an initial HVAC system overview and selection. That'll be with the fire department, probably with facilities, with the town and a few other folks that want to attend these. And I should say, anybody that wants to attend these meetings, on the committee that wants to participate, feel free to. So we'll go over initial HVAC system overview. So we'll outline a series of different systems, talk about the pros and cons, and then ultimately get to a selection on that based on cost, operability, and function for the department. We'll then have an initial site plan and landscaping overview. We'll take the site plan we have now, add a little bit more detail to it, talk about some opportunities that may present themselves. So this would be, again, with the fire department or with other folks in town that may have an interest in that. We'll do a deeper dive into the exterior building design. We'll pull some samples together so we can look at what the brick is going to look like with a series of different brick samples, different roof samples, things like that. Get down to some color selections, some quality finishes that we know, to establish really the first level of what the detailed budget is going to say, right? Because one brick can be 20 cents a brick, another brick could be a $1.40. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining the budget while creating the right aesthetic. Then we'll do an interior building layout overview. So we'll start talking about the interior spaces, not just the layout of them, but the character of those spaces. And then ultimately, we'll have a reconciliation of the estimate, and we'll go through any value engineering options if those are required. Then we'll get into design development. So this is that phase that'll run from August to November. We're going to do an initial interior design overview. This is looking at finish boards, like fully detailed finish boards that show every carpet, every tile, every interior finish that's going to adorn the building. This is where you guys get to be mean to us, because if the first thing we present to you is something that you love, then you're not paying attention, right? We went through this on a police station a number of years ago, and the sergeant who was in charge of helping select the finishes left the first design meeting and said, "Matt, I got to tell you, I feel really bad. I think I made your interior designer cry, and I was really mean." And I said, "It's the only way you're going to get what you want. So want you to be critical when we go through those meetings." We'll do a Firematic equipment and plumbing systems overview. So this is where we'll get into all of the plumbing systems, shower fixtures, things like that, controls. We'll get into all the supportive equipment that live off the apparatus bays, all like getting into the Plymouth vent system, the hose connections, where they need cord reels, drops, things like that. So we'll go through all the detail of that system. We'll have an entire technology overview meeting where we'll go through all the IT, security, and access control through the building, making sure that you guys are getting card readers where you want them, keys where you need them, things like that. We'll do a technology meeting where we're going to review all the radio communication systems, any Zetron, anything like that that needs to coordinate with signalizations, coordinate with your trucks, going through red, yellow, green lights on the overhead doors, all of those controls. We'll have another full meeting dedicated to all the millwork, all the built-in casework and appliances within the facility. And that'll bring us to a final interior design review where we'll go through and recap everything we've gone through in the interior design. And we'll also talk about opportunities for branding and signage. And then again, a reconciliation of the estimate and overview of value engineering options if needed. And then once we've gone through all of those meetings, we will have a really good sense of every single detailed parameter that's going to go into the construction documents. So as we go into the construction document phase and are starting to build out the bid set, we're going to do some gut checks with the fire department, make sure they're on board with everything one last time. We develop, all of our construction documents are part of a 3D coordinated cloud-based model. But that also allows us to have live 3D fully rendered spaces. So we can do a full 3D walkthrough like a video game of the building with the actual finishes on it. So you can really get a sense of, this is where this goes. This is how it looks. Does that work for you? Let's adjust it one last time. So we'll do that with a final interior design review. We'll do the same thing with the exterior. So you can see all the subsurface detention systems, all the stormwater, all the landscaping. We'll do a final MEP systems overview holistically with all the systems. And then once again, another reconciled estimate, another value engineering discussion if required. And then I would anticipate with this committee, we'll have some meetings around bidding coordination and the pre-qualification of qualified contractors and filed sub-bidders.
Matt, could you just add about the permitting part that you'll be involved with through this process to get us to that point prior to bidding?
Yeah, so these meetings are all specific to the design of the building, mostly with the internal end user. We'll also have a series of meetings on permitting with Mass DOT for the curb cut access to Washington Street, as well as Conscom for anything that related to the wetlands. Part of the site is within the 100-year floodplain too, so we'll have to file an NOI for any work within that. And that'll all go concurrently with that. A majority of the permitting effort will happen through design development. I'm assuming we're going to have to go to the planning board as well, just to give them an update and an overview. So,
Zoning and height restrictions.
yep. Yeah, if we have to do a special permit for any zoning restrictions. So that'll happen this fall, early winter.
Shouldn't be a zoning issue because that's local.
Did the 3 stories, didn't it?
Yeah, they just,
You're just gonna dot the I and cross.
Yeah,
the T.
yeah,
We wanna make sure that if we can do a Curtis review and they say we're all good, we're
yeah,
happy.
yeah.
That's fine.
But I think the zone was updated to 3-story and it's local business, so, yeah.
But you never know those little.
Yep.
you know,
Any questions on that? It's a lot of meetings. You guys are going to be busy, but we'll make it easy and fun.
And the agendas for each of those meetings will be presented in advance so that you'd be prepared. I want you to come there ready to go so that it's really productive as we move forward.
So what I'll do is I'm going to put this list together for you so you can share it with your department. Does anybody else from the building committee want that list so they can coordinate with other town departments that may want to be party to some of these meetings?
I think if you include me and Mark,
Okay.
we just have to be careful that we don't end up with a quorum at a meeting without posting it as an open meeting. So,
Yeah.
If we have to post it, we'll post it.
yeah, yeah.
And we'll share the like Joe said, we'll share the agendas, we'll share the minutes.
Yeah.
We'll update you on the results of all these meetings as we go along with it. But these will really help the fire department be comfortable in understanding that they're getting the building that they really need.
And I do think we should put checkpoints at the committee meetings on all of these because I think one thing that we owe the voters and the residents is that we're sort of the watchdog organization over the department. Not that we think that the department is going to make poor decisions, but I think constituents will want to know that residents are paying attention and having input, on that process. And it's not just a runaway, 2 people driving the whole thing.
And the whole purpose of the reason why I said that, we want to make sure that we not only get your input on this, but you're also going to be reviewing and approving the next step. So you'll be part of the process and not just
Yeah, yeah.
hierarchy. That's all. Okay.
Yep.
I have a quick question. I don't know if you want to explain the prequel at all but is there any reason that someone wouldn't prequel?
So any public construction project in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts over an estimated value of $10 million, you're required to pre-qualify general contractors and filed subbidders. So if anybody's not familiar with public bidding in Massachusetts, there's 13, 16 trades that 18 that we have to bid separately ahead of the general contractor. So that's all your MEP trades, carpet, tile, acoustic tile ceiling, masonry, things like that. So we'll have to embark, because this is going to be over the $10 million estimated construction budget, on a pre-qualification process. So under Mass General Law, Chapter 149, we will submit a request for qualifications to qualified contractors. They will submit their qualifications package. This committee will need to go through those and set up a subcommittee.
I'm not going to ask every one of you to participate, but we'll assign certain people to be part of that pre-qualification.
Aren't most of them pre-qualified and through
Well, no,
DCAM and
that's
stuff?
a great
Okay.
question. The answer is no.
Okay.
So it's a whole different setup. So the procurement process on the pre-qualification is they submit their packages. We got to make sure that, their allocation of resources, they're financially capable of doing it. Their DCAM certification is still up to date. They're, we check references. I mean, there's a number of different-
Terminations, all that. Yeah.
So what'll end up happening is, to answer your question, there are subs that are disqualified at times.
In the committee or the subcommittee can make that. I've never seen that part, obviously.
So you may
You're on
be
the other end of
I'm
the.
on the other side. Yes, I've never seen
one of the
that part.
committee members that'll join that, just to see that whole process go through. But the answer is the committee, along with, the information that we're providing, make the decision on pre-qualification.
And we'll have to work together to set some of that criteria of what a qualified contractor is, right? We can say, as long as you meet the bonded requirements, you've got the capacity, and you've got a good track record, you're gonna be qualified. You could also say, we want to make sure that you've done a similar size, similarly complex fire station in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
And that may score you differently. And with the scoring matrix that we're talking about will determine whether they pass or fail.
Okay. Thank you.
And just another one of the acronyms that were out there, the DCAM, it's the Department of Capital Asset Management, I believe.
Correct.
It's a state department that manages, state contracts and
And the NOI is the notice of it.
as we get our scorecard, our cheat sheets going.
Any other questions?
So obviously, I mean, we have two different courses we could go. We could go 149 or 149A, which is the file submit or going CM at risk.
So
When do we have that discussion? And
So we will, first
isn't
of
it-
all, I think financially, we'll be having that conversation over near the end of schematic. Because if we're going to engage a 149A, a construction manager, you're going to want them in there before, design development really kicks, because they usually 60% we get them engaged. My gut feeling is financially it may, although at times we may save on some of the changes that might occur from whatever reason, it does add a cost to the overall project. So
what about timing though for
What?
MEPs and electrical items? I mean, switchgear and
to
everything.
design development, because that's when the
I mean, I'm just saying those are the long leads. I don't know, where we're sitting in
So
the industry.
There's a few other ways we can go about it too. So one with the CM at risk, right? We have to apply to the Attorney General's office for a waiver to do that, and it takes about 60 days to do that. Then we have to do a qualifications process because it's a qualifications based selection.
Right.
So by the time we're hitting design development, we would have to start the CM at risk process like today in order to go about down that road. If we went straight 149 and did a GC hard bid, just a regular general contractor bid process, some of those long lead items, the owner can elect to buy those separately. So switchgear, generator, things like that, we can write a scope of work, and you can work with your procurement office to buy those outside of the construction process. So you can help secure your back set yourself up so that you're not having to deal with those long lead issues.
it's early package basically.
Well, that's I know that's I'm worried about is the early package.
So we're gonna
Because we do have a pretty tight schedule once we come out of design and construction. To hit end of 27.
we're gonna identify what those items are. We've bid enough of these projects that we're gonna know what it takes to get the lead time on some of this equipment. We're gonna work closely with the engineers of record, determine what equipment that we actually need. We'll go through whether we need to do a procurement process and vote it appropriately for a priority spec, and then we'll just go from there. So my gut feeling though is that, to Matt's point, the process would need to start within the next month or so if you went to see him at risk. And what I'll do my next meeting, and I don't know when we're planning on having it over the next, hopefully 2 to 3 weeks, where I'll give you the pluses and plus and cons on both of them. Then you guys can make a decision.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Next section is just left field's updates, the project plan update. So basically, there's a number of different methods that we're going to be moving forward with the project plan update. One is obviously we're going to take the sequence of schedules. The program is probably the biggest thing that we want to refine. He's going to look at the efficiencies and flexibility in the space to try to reduce, overall square footage. Matt alluded to that we're going to be sending these drawings out to an estimate at schematic design. Both estimators will perform independent estimates, and then we're going to do a reconciliation. At that point, we're going to present it to the committee and have some discussions of where we're at and directions that we need to go. There won't be a time that we'll present a cost and let you know some possible reductions if necessary, or add alternates. We're going to have those discussions early on. The overall project plan update, we're gonna put a I call it a schedule, but we're gonna really identify a lot of the tasks in between each of these phases so that you're participating in whatever ones we need to and schedule it appropriately. And then we'll work closely with Tecton on the agenda items that we're going to be discussing. So over the next probably 3 to 4 weeks, we should be able to refine that a little bit for you. The geotech test pits, we're at a point now where, the weather's obviously nice. If there's additional spaces Matt's going to engage with the civil engineer. He's going to kind of do his limit of work and let us know if there's any additional areas that need to be done. We'll work closely with the Department of Public Works and figure that portion of it out. Meeting schedules. This is probably one of the things that I want to make sure that we talk about in general. The body of the committee could probably meet once a month, but I also suggest that as the project plan evolves, we may call a meeting appropriately just to make sure that we're getting together and making decisions to assure that we're meeting those scheduled timelines and dates that we're going to be moving forward with. So I don't know what the summer alludes, 'cause summer brings a lot of vacations, a quorum trying to get together. So at least try to set whatever, I don't care if it's third Monday, whatever that date is, we try to hold it consistently. That's all.
I mean, my suggestion might be that we pencil in every 2 weeks and then we just make a decision on a meeting by meeting basis if we can skip one.
So I think that's good, but I also need Matt's team to actually have
time to
design
do
it. So
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
That
Yeah.
needs today, Matt.
well, because I think we need to meet again
right,
soon.
it could be internally, right?
Right, because we have some things that we have to approve in order to kick all this off. So I think if we just sort of mentally think about every 2 weeks, knowing that there's going to be, like in the middle of July, we're probably going to skip one, right? And just say, hey, we don't need to have our next meeting.
Or we talk about like the agenda item, maybe we don't post it, we don't have that meeting, we'll have those conversations.
Yeah, but I think just from structurally, at least for the near term, that's the way I would suggest.
We'll coordinate as far as if I think he needs to be at a meeting, the discussion points, and I think he needs more time to get in and design, that's what he'll do, so.
I would say like the first and the third Mondays, like just to hear it.
Well, we're trying to say opposite. Right now, our next one would tentatively be the 16th. That's opposite because the selectmen are next week and the week after.
And they have a summer schedule, and if I remember correctly, their only meetings this summer are July 21st and August 18th.
For the selectmen?
Yeah, because they do one meeting a month during the summer,
Okay.
and they just voted on it at the last meeting. They potentially could schedule more, but as of right now, they
Right.
just
So we're kind of open, okay. But I think with the amendments needing to be, do something with that, we probably need to meet 2 weeks from now.
So
we can
what
take
I'd
care of
like
that
you
one?
to do is if the committee decides on every 2 weeks, if you could just send out, a set schedule, your meeting dates of what you're proposing to it, then between Connor, myself, and Tectum can put in, the agenda items that would be necessary based
Yeah,
on
I
our
think
project plan.
we would just need feedback from you guys of like, this is what, I need 3 weeks before we'll be at the next decision point.
Yeah,
That's-
I was trying to say that, we need to do it for a couple of reasons, the next one, and then it may not be until the second period of July or whatever that we need to meet, so it's a month later that, so it gives you enough time to get moving on the one, and then we have one in August or something. And
Agreed.
Yeah, I just want to make
Maybe.
sure that we're not prepared to have a meeting when we need to have a meeting, right? Because I know, having, worked with town meeting, right? It's like, if you have to call a special town meeting, then that's a major undertaking. This is not quite that level, but,
Understood.
if we say, hey, we're not meeting again until the middle of July, and then suddenly we got to make a decision, it's going to be hard to
Yeah, and
pull everybody back in, I guess.
the transparency and communication, we want to make sure that everybody's vetted on it before. I want, the information being provided to you so you can make a great decision on whatever you're going to just talk about. That's all. Okay, got it. And the next one was just committee discussion topics.
so, housekeeping stuff. I think, I got my letter from the town today, but all our terms are up on June 30th. Obviously, they made them for a year because, not knowing how the vote was going. I think the assumption is that they made to begin with is that everybody wants to be reappointed. If you don't want to be reappointed, let us know so we can work to backfill it. And otherwise, you just have to get resworn in before July 1st at the town clerk's office.
Yeah, but not until June 15th. It's
Right. Yeah. So. So if we talk, I mean, like we said, we need to have the 16th probably, or we could do it the 23rd. We still have time to the end of the month, but
I think we'd want to do it sooner than later,
Yeah.
right? Because
and then if we
not to make you work for free for too much longer, right?
Pro bono.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, we either could wait till the 14th or the 21st of July. Then I don't know which would
Usually
time
the
period.
first of July, tough, right?
I say we keep them penciled in and then just we have like a bi-weekly check-in with you to see, do we need to meet next week? If what do we
Okay.
have? Stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that would
but I
work,
would
right?
Yeah,
like
just
the
schedule
fourth.
every 2 weeks for now.
Yeah, just keep
Okay.
in your head
Except
that.
July
30 would
4th,
be
if
2
that
weeks.
July 4th
Oh, yeah.
falls, whatever
That's
that
a
is.
Friday.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Any other?
Do we need to talk about the time? I
Oh,
think that was
yeah,
a discussion
time. You're
for
right.
you.
So we pushed it to 6 for this one, which I appreciate. I'd like to keep it at least at 6, if not 6:30, but 6 would work fine. I mean, if it works with everybody, I think it's probably a little easier for everybody traveling to get here from wherever to get to the. Unless do you need 6:30 or not?
6 would be great, because you travel in the other direction too.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want it to get too late at night either. Getting
Right.
through some of the discussions, but hopefully we won't be having too many of those late
And if
night
it needs
meetings.
to be tweaked, we can tweak it.
Okay, so we'll leave it at 6. Any other discussions, questions from the committee? Okay. I do want to thank everybody that put in the time that went to the different presentations, and Chief Coleman's time, and he certainly put on some good presentations out there. And they were well received from everything that feedback I got from different groups and different people that had seen their presentations, and thankful for it. So it was good. I mean, you get some of the negative people out there, but I mean, then the vote was 68%, whatever it was. So I mean, it was pretty hefty. For a small turnout vote, we had a pretty good backing on it. So it was good. I'm glad to hear that, and how we can move it all forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to update the committee that I had a conversation last week with the town engineer. As you all know, during the presentations, it would often come up about Prospect Street and potential road improvements on Prospect Street or what that may look like. So I had an early conversation with town engineering last week. They are reaching out to Mass DOT as we speak to have some early conversations. And in the upcoming week or two, we're going to be having an on-site meeting with the ownership of Parking Shop. I spoke with them last week, just told them that the project was moving forward and discussed the potential for road improvements. And they were excited to hear it. They wanted to reiterate that they're always looking to be good neighbors and good community partners. And we are hoping the ask is going to be that Park and Shop be willing to work with us to give up some footage onto their side of the road from Southbridge Street to Washington Street. So we can potentially look at some road widening with some turning lanes. And at least in the initial conversation that I had with them, they were not opposed to that. So we're going to have, again, an on-site meeting in the coming weeks just to look at that. But that all sounded positive at this point, and I'll keep the committee informed at our next meeting.
Yep. Thank you. Any other comments, discussions? Nope. Public comments is next. I don't see any public here. So right now we have scheduled for June 16th is our next meeting, 6 o'clock here. You guys will have your amendments in by Friday
Yep.
of this week. So you can review it and get it to town and act on it by the next meeting, hopefully.
Great.
If there's nothing else, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All approved? All approved? Thank you.